The Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America Series heads north this weekend to the Finger Lakes region of New York State for rounds 5 and 6 at the famed Watkins Glen International Raceway. It's a welcome back to this area after an absence due to COVID protocols in 2020, and the Raging Bulls from Lamborghini are next on NBCSN. It's Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America Round 6 from Watkins Glen. Where are we? Well, I said Watkins Glen, southern New York State, in the Finger Lakes area, just at the base of some of the Finger Lakes. 3.4 miles, 11 turns, great passing opportunities here, and some areas that you'll hear us talk about: the inner loop, the chute, the boot. You can tell it's shaped like a boot. There's a toe and a heel, and good passing areas, especially into heavy braking zones, into turn 1, the inner loop, and into the heel of the boot, or turn 8. It leads to great racing. This racetrack has such a storied past. Thanks for joining us for what should be some fantastic single-make sports car racing. I'm Brian Till, along with motorsports expert Jeremy Shaw, and we'll take you from the green to the checkers today. But before things heat up on track, a quick check of the weather tells us it should be a great day to be a race car driver, a crew member, and especially a fan. Mid-70s with a slight breeze, and the idea of rain is essentially out of the picture. There are 4 classes competing in Lamborghini Super Trofeo globally and here in North America. And in the Pro class, Richard Antonucci and his 27 from Dream Racing are having a dream season. But looking to perhaps give Antonucci some nightmares is second-place Pro Class driver Stephen McAleer, along with his new co-driver Jerome Mule, in the Change Racing number 16 Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo. In Pro-Am, fast is an understatement when you look at the timesheets for Laura Spinelli and Claude Signoretti in the number 51 from Torino Racing. But they need to find consistency if they're going to move the Precision Performance Motorsports duo of Brandon Godovic and Brian Ortiz out of the championship lead in that class. If you've ever dreamed of driving one of the world's most exotic sports cars around one of the world's most historic circuits, we'll give you the next best experience. A ride around Watkins Glen with Pro Class driver Alec Udell in his Kelly Moss Road and Race number 48.
Hey, I'm Alec Udell, driver of the number 48 Kelly Moss Road and Race Lamborghini Super Trofeo car, and here's a lap at Watkins Glen. Brake down at the 300 into turn 1, get up on that inside apex. You want to avoid going too far out on the curb, it can damage the tire. You're going to enter into the S's here at the bottom in full throttle. Super, super high load, just rolling as much speed as we can through the top of the hill. You'll see us hit 150 mile an hour as we come into turn 4. We're going to thank this car for pulling over a little bit as he sees we're on a good lap. Coming into the bus stop, we're going to be at just about 170 mile an hour, hit the brakes at 4, get all over this first curb, stay off the inside 2 curbs a little bit, and use all of the 4th curb there. Coming into the carousel, you let the car out a little bit, just a lift, rolling into the throttle, and we're trying to get to full throttle by that corner station that says, I love New York. We're going down into turn 6 here, downhill braking zone, pretty challenging. The track falls away from you a little bit, but you want to keep it tight in on the way in, roll into the power on the way out, and using the torque of that Lamborghini engine to pull us down into turn 7. We're going to brake dished at the 200. Slow hands, you want to have a late apex. Always just a little bit of oversteer as you're coming out of turn 7 here. And use all the track out, even that little bit beyond the white line. Coming into turn 8, it's a tough braking zone, another downhill section. We're going to brake just at the 200, try to get the car down to the apex, rolling all the way using as much track as we can. We've got to stay inside the lines here. And then coming up into turn 9, we're going to brake. There's a white dot on the side of the track. You pause it, you can probably see it. Super late apex. Use all the track out again on the exit. Coming into 10, super, super fast. We're just going to tap the brake a little bit, get the nose set, roll into full throttle as quickly as possible, and roll a ton of speed. We're going to brake right at the end of the tire wall there on the left-hand side. Get down to the apex, roll out, use all the track out on the exit of 11. We're coming onto the front straightaway, and that's a lap at Watkins Glen.
Great racing yesterday in round 1 of the weekend. This is the 3rd weekend for Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. At the drop of the green flag, though, newcomer Max Waring in the 61 in the middle of the field, the black and gold Lamborghini makes a move out of his column too soon, passes before the line. He'll have to serve a drive-through penalty, and that is not the way to get your day started. Neither is this. Kyle Marcelli big impact in the climbing S's. Good to see him climb out of the car after a full course yellow from Marcelli's incident. Richard Antonucci takes off right where he was, and that was up front. Then the pit stops start to unfold, and by the time they are all done, Antonucci out in front. In the AM class, some great battles here between Alan Metney in the 99 and 17-year-old Luke Berkeley in the 23, but in the end, Richard Antonucci seems to own the keys to almost every racetrack we've been to. He's only been off the top step of the podium one time. The cars are lined up and drivers are ready to get on with the fight, so let's take a look at the grid for round 6. I mentioned earlier that Laura Spinelli and Claude Signoretti were fast, and to that point, Laura Spinelli qualified the number 51 Pro-Am entry on the overall pole, besting Pro Class Championship leader Richard Antonucci by over half a second. Row 2 sees young Stephen Agakani and teammate Jacob Edson looking to shake the bad luck of a cut-down tire in round 5 yesterday and get back to a podium here today. And you can bet the top step is their target, but it's also the target for Alec Udell, round 5 pole sitter, who starts 4th today. Both of those cars have podium finishes, but both are looking for their first win in 2021. Row 3 in the 5th position is where Jerome Muhl will make his first 2021 start in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, carrying the championship aspirations of co-driver Stephen McAleer with him during that opening stint, while Dario Capitano will look to chase down the leader in Pro-Am from his 6th place starting position. Pro-Am points leaders Brandon Godovic and Brian Ortiz start inside row 4, and the fastest in the AM category, 17-year-old Gianno Torino continues to impress with his speed in row 6. Right behind Torino in row 7 is another 17-year-old, Luke Berkeley. In fact, the AM class heavily represented in rows 6 through 10. And Justin Price has shown that you can get back on the horse, or the bull in this case, and get right back up to speed. The former Lamborghini Super Trofeo race winner from 2018 starts at the front of the LB Cup field here today. Unfortunately, one driver who is not here today is Kyle Marcelli. After his frightening crash in the climbing S's yesterday, his car was not able to be repaired for today's round, so Kyle is in the position of a spectator for today's race. It is going to be an impressive start. You look at the aggressiveness of both drivers on the front row, Spinelli alongside Antonucci, and you could have some fireworks, but we talk about tires. So important for these drivers to take care of the tires. A little cooler this morning than it was yesterday. That will help, but they really need to stay off of the curbing for the first couple of laps until they build pressure, and that gives the sidewall a little more support. If you bang these curbs too heavily in the opening couple of laps, you can really damage the sidewall of that tire, and throughout the 50-minute race, that can come back to haunt you. I think we may have seen some of that yesterday. Spinelli, slow onto the front straightaway, has the field in order behind him. 4 different classes, they all drive the exact same Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. Evo and Spinelli getting things ready. Antonucci alongside in the purple 27, and Spinelli with a bit of a jump. Antonucci gets somewhat left behind. Did they throw the green flag? Yes, in fact, they did. Spinelli with a good jump, and I believe that's going to bring alongside the 6 of Jacob Edson in the white number 6 alongside Antonucci. We saw Antonucci yesterday, Jeremy, not afraid to go side by side through the S's.
No, indeed, and it was a very bold move yesterday by Antonucci, but this time it is Laura Spinelli has a pretty good lead there. And for Antonucci, you know, he's not going to be too concerned about that number 51 car out in front. Yes, he might be winning the race overall at the moment, but his co-driver is relatively new to this sport in that car number 51. And we don't expect that car, Claude Signoretti, to be contending for the lead in the later stages of this race. So Antonucci is going to pick his battles. He's going to concentrate on who's behind him right now, and that is Jacob Edson in that car number 6 for O'Gara Motorsport.
And speaking of battles, the number 16, the light blue and white Bud Light entry, Jerome Muhl behind the wheel right now, really going tooth and nail early on with the 46. Just in front, the red and white Pro-Am entry, Brandon Godovic behind the wheel. And again, 2 different class of cars, Muhl in the Pro category, Godovic in Pro-Am, so you really need to understand who you're racing with. Max Weering needs a good finish in the black and gold 61 through the toe of the boot inside the 16. He moves forward, struggled with that penalty at the start yesterday. And Jeremy, we talked about that. This is a driver who runs in Lamborghini Super Trofeo in Europe, has won there, but really has struggled when he came here to the States. He's got to learn every racetrack each time he shows up for a weekend.
Yeah, young Dutchman, 20 years of age, Max Wearing, and clearly got a fair bit of talent, but it's a steep learning curve. This is a very competitive series here in North America, and it's been a bit of a struggle. He's had some battles, let's say, both on and off the track, it seems, in the early stages of this season, but he is quick, and that was a nice pass he made on this opening lap.
Nice and aggressive pass, and certainly he doesn't hold anything back. Perhaps that aggressiveness caught him out at Coda in round 2 when he crashed in the early stages of the race, but he really needs a good finish. I think he needs it for the team, and I think he needs it for himself personally, so he can find some belief again that, hey, I can get this done. Spinelli wide in the second part of the bus stop as he came through there, really couldn't get the car down to that second apex, so he is not holding anything back. He's out in front, 1.6 seconds at the line the last time by, but I think he's pulling away from Richard Antonucci, and as you said, Antonucci knows that car in front of him, the 51, is probably going to go backwards when Signoretti gets behind the wheel and they do that driver change. Remember, mandatory pit stop in Lamborghini Super Trofeo.
Yeah, mandatory pit stop anytime between 20 and 30 minutes into this 50-minute race, and we've got about pretty much an equal split between cars that have single drivers for this 50-minute race and twin drivers for this race. Everybody has to make a mandatory pit stop, but for the single driver cars, their pit stop has to be a minimum of 3 seconds longer than the cars that are switching drivers. The reason for that, well, the driver who has already done the first stint of the race, he knows how his car is handling, he knows what the track conditions are like, and it does take a little bit of time for the second driver to get used to that when he hops into the car in the middle way through the race.
There is still plenty of Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America action coming your way. Stay with us. Now putting pressure. That's Gianno Torino leading in the AM category. We saw how fast he was yesterday, and he has been impressive all season long, Jeremy.
Well, he certainly has, and for a youngster that's new to this level of competition, he's done a stellar job in that number 88 car for his family team, Torino Racing. And Gianno is looking to extend his lead in the AM category this weekend. Talking of extending leads, Loris Spinelli is just disappearing at the front of the field. Last time around was a 1:45.672. That beats the old lap record set by Richard Antonucci back in 2019, a 1:46.2. So new race lap record already for Loris Spinelli, and an overall car leading number 51.
And what's important for Jacob Edson, he's within a second of Antonucci. So if they both did pit stops perfectly, you would think that the 6 would have a 2-second lead after those pit stops. So Jacob Edson doing the job that he needs to do right now, as Spinelli, as you said, leads into the bus stop almost 4 seconds in hand over Antonucci. And I believe that under braking, Jeremy, looks like Jacob Edson may have the better car into the bus stop. Obviously, Antonucci gets the power down on the way out. You always want a good exit so you can get down the next straightaway, but the 6 seems to be really, really good on brakes right now.
It does, doesn't it? And but hanging right there as well is the second of the Pro-Am contenders. That's Dario Capitano in the second of the Dream Racing Motorsports entries. He is teammates to Richard Antonucci, who is in the second position overall and leading in Pro. Dario Capitano 4th overall, but leading second place in Pro-Am. And then right behind them also is Alec Udell in the another Pro contender for Kelly Moss Road and Race in car number 48. So the battle for second, third and fourth now, the 2 Bitbull cars are sandwiching Jacob Edson in that 3rd position overall as Loris Spinelli continues to extend his lead.
My question, Jeremy, would be if Capitano in the 22, the second of the purple Bitbull Lamborghinis, if he could get by Jacob Edson, would that battle slow them up enough that Antonucci would get that 3-second lead that he needs before the pit stops, and if Capitano could get in front of Edson, would he back him up to make sure that that happened? Would the team communicate that to him?
Well, yeah, that's yes is the short answer. They will, and he will be trying to do that. Dario himself he made his debut at this championship last time out at VIR, Virginia International Raceway, a few weeks ago. Prior to that, he'd been out of racing for a few years. He's an instructor these days at Dream Racing Motorsport, which is at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. He's originally from Rome in Italy, is Dario Capitano, in that fourth place car number 22. Did some racing, did karting, the usual stuff. He actually won the SCUSA Supernats in Las Vegas back in 2015. Then made some moves in Europe in open wheel cars, in Formula Renault cars. He also drove in the Renault Sport RS01, a one-make series a few years ago, back in 2015, won that championship. So he's got this opportunity now with Dream Racing Motorsport, and he wants to take full advantage of it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, so he's a former champion. He knows how to win races. He knows how to win championships. You talked about winning at SCUSA. There's nothing more competitive than that level of karting. And he spent a little time in the European Le Mans Series in LMP3 cars. So he's got experience in different kinds of cars, but I always find it so interesting that what it takes to drive one of these Lamborghinis fast is really a combination of a lot of skills that you gain from other places. And you look at some drivers who come here with vast experience in other types of cars and struggle. Someone who has not struggled and really taken like a duck to water to these Lamborghinis is Mark Kwame in the 47. Won the race yesterday, having several wins on the season. Kwame now leading in LB Cup.
There is still plenty of Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America action coming your way. Stay with us. You're watching Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America on NBCSN.
Well, it's easy as race fans, and certainly you and I are race fans, to get fixated on the leaders, but when you watch the cars come onto some of the long straightaways, you look a little bit further back for further championship implications. Remember, Richard Antonucci leads in the pro category. Jacob Edson on his rear wing are both pro category cars. Then Dario Capitano in the second of the purple Bitbull entries. But Alec Udell, fifth on the racetrack, is third in the pro category and has been running really well this weekend. Another race car driver who's won championships in other series and has come in to Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America and has a pretty steep learning curve. Qualified on pole for yesterday's race, had a good finish there, and is running strong. He's running third in the pro category today, but every lap these drivers put in is just more experience that they gain, not only in the platform, in the car, but with the tire as well. And in talking to these drivers, adapting to the anti-lock braking system is one of the big challenges in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America, because a lot of these drivers have not driven anti-lock brake systems before on race cars, and if they have, they've been different. You also have serious horsepower, 620 plus horsepower in the back of these Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evos, and for a lot of drivers, it's the most horsepower they've ever driven, and you kind of think about that, and you go, no, that can't be. But you think back to an LMP3 car, they don't have 600 plus horsepower. Go to the IMSA WeatherTech Championship. GT Le Mans cars don't have 650 horsepower. This is one of the most powerful cars that you'll see on track this weekend, let alone the Lamborghini series this weekend.
It is, absolutely. I mean, these are serious racing cars, and they're super to watch. They sound fantastic, and they are a lot of fun to drive, as all these guys are finding out right now. We see some close battles a little bit further down the field there. It's a battle for 8th position overall. It's currently led by Brandon Gudovic, who is running currently third in Pro-Am. Pro-Am being led by the overall leader, Loris Spinelli, then Dario Capitano in the 4th position overall. So Brandon Gudovic is quite a long way back from the Capitano car, but he's holding up a train of cars here. That's Sergio Jimenez, who is behind him. He's a pro car. Then behind him is Victor Gomez, who's another Pro-Am. And then the red, white, and green car, that's Gianno Torino, who leads Am. just ahead of Nelson Piquet Jr. behind him. Then a little bit of a gap back to Luke Berkeley, who's second in the AM class and having a good old battle with Alan Metney in car number 99.
And Metney has been so impressive. I had to check resumes because I wanted to really make sure that I understood the age, and I do now for sure. You know, it was interesting yesterday. I was watching a 54-year-old relatively experienced race car driver and Alan Metney do battle with a 17-year-old in the hands of Luke Berkeley. And you just think about what you did as a 17-year-old and what you did and how you think as a 54-year-old. And that's just walking down the street. Well, now apply that to a race car and the experiences that you have versus the experience that the younger driver doesn't have. He has the will, he has the desire, he has the bravery, but the experience isn't quite there yet. To the driver with more years under his belt, he has the experience. He may not have the bravery, but he has the wisdom. And so you think about that battle going on the racetrack, and I find it fascinating. They had a great one yesterday, and Metney, running in 2 different one-make series this weekend, has found success in the other one earlier today and has run well here. He finished on the podium here yesterday in second place.
There is still plenty of Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America action coming your way. Stay with us.
'51, Spinelli makes the driver hand off. He's sitting there on the wall. He's saying, hey, tell him to do this, tell him to do this, tell him to go. He needs to do this. You can see the frustration on Laura Spinelli's face. He's going, come on, Claude, go. I need you to go. I need you to go. He just put in one heck of a drive to have the 51 out front. He wants it to stay there. Nelson Piquet Jr. now up to third. Alec Udell being shown in third overall, second in pro. All of this will cycle through as stops are made. Some cars stay out, others come in. And we talked about it, Jeremy. A lot of times it's your crew telling you when to pit. If you've got the faster driver in, you want to leave him in for as long as you can. If you're catching traffic and you know you're going to get held up, you might as well pit and get that out of the way and perhaps have clean sailing when you head back out.
Yeah, and after that pit stop, Richard Antonucci taking full advantage of the fact that he has the experience. He's already driven the first part of the race. He was able to put a couple of seconds between himself and Stephen Agacani on that last lap. Number 4 car of Bart Collins has not yet made his first pit stop. I think he's the last car out on track to make the pit stop. We saw the race leader, Loris Spinelli, come in to hand over to Claude Signoretti. Number 33 car of Nelson Piquet, he stayed out longer than everybody else. He also is now making his pit stop, and that will leave Bart Collins as the only driver yet to come in and serve his mandatory stop. He's still got 4 minutes to do so before the pit window closes. So he's going to stay out as long as he can before handing over number 4 car to Mike Manella for the second part of this race.
Interesting, the 51 lost 6.5 seconds on the stop. So that's why you would see Laura Spinelli on the wall, his hands very animated, going, come on, we need to go. And I don't know if Claude Signoretti was having difficulty getting his Lamborghini in gear and getting it moving again, but 6.5 seconds sitting still in pit lane. And the fastest racetrack, one of the fastest racetracks we go to, the speed differential, if you're out there going 130 miles an hour average speed, that's hundreds of feet down the racetrack that you're losing as you sit there on pit lane.
Yeah, and just looking at the pit stop times there for the leading cars, Richard Antonucci is shown as 93 seconds. That is the minimum allowed for the single driver cars, but interestingly 91 seconds for the number 6 car. That minimum of that is allowed to be 90 seconds, but as we saw, that Agacani had to put on the brakes, I think, in order not to pass Antonucci coming out of the pits. So that's going to be an interesting one for the stewards to pay attention to, because I think by rights, if Antonucci had left his pit box when he quote-unquote should have done, in order so he didn't have to slow down before he got to the pit exit line, that's a good a bit of gain, well, a lot of gains and shit there
Yeah.
for Richard Antonucci. Is now he's extending his lead at the front of the field.
Absolutely, and that's the point. His pit stop may have been perfect, quote, time-wise, because he did the 93 seconds. It's when the time was made, and if he slowed considerably at pit out to avoid that and held up another competitor, that's problematic. And I would be surprised if the 6 team wasn't commenting on that.
There is still plenty of Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America action coming your way. Stay with us.
So Antonucci out in front, but understanding that he will need to serve a penalty. That would elevate Stephen Agacani, Jacob Edson to the point in pro. Dario Capitano, the second of the Pitbull Lamborghinis, as Antonucci heads to pit road, leads in Pro-Am, back to Gianno Torino leading in the AM category, and Terry Olson sharing the 47 with Mark Kwame. They lead in LB Cup. Still have just under 20 minutes to go. The field streaming by as Antonucci slowly down pit lane on that pit lane speed limiter button, and that has to be absolutely agonizing. And what you're hoping for, if you're Richard Antonucci, is a full course caution after this to gather the field back up and give you a fighting chance to get back to the front.
Yeah, he's going to come out here in around about the bottom end of the top 10, I think, maybe just inside the top 10, and there was a bit of games which there didn't quite work out for Richard Antonucci. This is his 57th start in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo in North America. It's actually not the most in the history of this championship. The most starts has been made by Brandon Godovic, who is 70 odd starts to his name in the number 46 car. He's handed over that car to Victor Gomez, who's currently running second position in Pro-Am behind Dario Capitano. So for Dream Racing Motorsports and the Las Vegas dealership, which they represent, he's taken over now in second place overall, and he's right on the tail of Stephen Agacani. So this is a pretty good battle now. That is for the lead of the race, heading up into turn 9. Oops,
well, this goes back
Agacani leaves the door open there.
This goes back to knowing who you're racing with. For Stephen Agacani and Jacob Edson, they have had some bad luck this year, but they lead in Pro, and they can take the victory there. You got to be careful who you're fighting with, especially if the car you're fighting with is the teammate of the bereaved driver who had to serve the penalty. Talk about the penalty, though. I think we may have a look at it as they came down pit road on that release, what put Richard Antonucci in the penalty box, so to speak, as they were released from pit lane. Well, no, this is him just serving his penalty. I thought we were going to get a shot of the pit stops. But
he was good.
Well,
what he did there was...
This is it. He's going to...
Yeah.
So this is his stop. Yeah. And you'll see him sitting there, the 93 seconds worth. The crew guys are going to run around. They're going to check air pressure. And you'll see a white car go by at the bottom of the screen, and you think, okay, well, that was the 6, but it's not. And when they release him, you'll see that the 6 comes out right behind him, and it's then that you see it. And the problem is it happens right at the end of pit lane, and it's pretty visible for all involved. You and I both saw it, Jeremy, and our eyes aren't the youngest or the sharpest out there.
NBCSN's coverage of Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America continues right after this. You're watching Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America on NBCSN.
At the front wheel, it still is Stephen Agacani leading this race, and by just 0.3 of a second last time they crossed the line. He's had 4 wins, overall wins previously, has Stephen Agacani. Made his debut in this championship actually right here at Watkins Glen 2 years ago, because he was too young to take part in the first races of that 2019 season. So 2 years on, and Stephen is doing a super job here out in front. He's now going faster. That was a better lap there, 47.9 for the race leader, and he's just maintaining that edge, just a few car lengths, which is all he needs over Alec Udell in second place. That is a battle for overall and pro. The third place car, Dario Capitano, still leads in Pro-Am, and extending that lead over Claude Signoretti, who's running 7th overall.
That time, Stephen Agacani with a great run out of turn 1, kind of leapt away from Alec Udell, but it is intense. A little further back in the field as the group comes streaming up through the us as Nelson Piquet Jr. in the red and white 33, working his way past. I think that's Signoretti in the 51, the green, white, and red, and coming along with him, Sergio Jimenez in that metallic blue and white number 44, working past Signoretti.
Yeah, the two Torino cars there, the red, white, and green cars, and Gianna Torino. Oh, dear me, there's a defensive move from I think that was Victor Gomez, who's directly ahead of him. He's a Pro-Am car running 3rd place and he wants to make a move. He wants to get past Claude Signoretti for 2nd place in Pro-Am.
Well, and here you go again with. We've got tires at the end of the race that are worn. You can see the cars moving around a lot. Drivers now beginning to move around a lot. As you said, being defensive on the racetrack as Gianno Torino in the 88 trying to get past Gomez in the purple and white. And some of these moves by Gomez may be considered by the officials as blocking. So I mean, late in the race, desperation kind of takes over, and I think we're seeing that on the part of some of these drivers right now. Alec Udell still within a half a second of the rear wing of Stephen Agacani, and Gianno Torino, after trying to get by Gomez there as they came up to turn 9, lost a couple of steps and is under attack. Agacani, though, that lead trio, he seems to get a good jump out of turn 1, and that is absolutely imperative from a defensive standpoint on this racetrack, Jeremy.
It is, and he's doing much better now. He's definitely looking forward. He's not looking on his mirrors all the time. He's just going as fast as he possibly can. He just turned his best lap of the race at the wheel at number 6 car, I believe, a 147.697 for the race leader, Stephen Agacani. Each of his last 3 laps will be within a couple of tenths of a second of each other, and that tells me that he's more worried about maintaining his position, doing the best job he can, looking forward rather than concentrating on his mirrors and trying to keep Udell behind him. That is certainly the way to win this race with now just over 4 minutes remaining.
Slow car in the toe of the boot. The lead trio works their way around Agacani out in front. It was the 7. I thought it might be left rear down on the 7 of Espinosa. We talk about taking care of tires here. Left side tires get absolutely punished, and you really have to do a good job of taking care of them. It's easy to overdrive. That's what I was saying about Alec Udell, as Udell has made a mistake somewhere, or Dario Capitano has made an impressive move, because Capitano now 2nd overall, still leading in Pro-Am, but he's found a way past Alec Udell.
Yes, he has.
So I'm not sure where that happened.
No, I didn't see it either, but he ran a little bit wide there in turn 1. He's got to make sure he doesn't incur the wrath of the stewards there for exceeding track limits. And talking to the stewards, that incident involving cars 44 and 27 is under review. We see a note from race control, but no decision as yet has been made.
Yeah, interesting. I know Todd Snyder and
yes, it has.
His race director.
Penalty, incident responsibility with number 44, a drive-through for the car number 27.
And there you go. I was going to say, I know Todd Snyder, the race director, really wants to make sure that these races are held and run fairly, and they've been pretty strict with track limits this weekend. These cars are very expensive. They don't need to be running into each other, and he follows the rule book. He follows the FIA guidelines as well as the IMSA sporting regulations, and they looked at that, and he and his group of driver advisors said, no, that's not what we want to see, and consequently, trip number 2 for the 27 down pit lane.
Yeah, indeed. So 2 penalties in this race for Richard Antonucci. That's going to drop him to the tail of the field in the pro category. He's kind of lucky that Kyle Marcelli wasn't able to start this race as a result of the damage caused yesterday's #1 car. So he will be placed 8th in pro. That's just 3 points, so 12 less than would have been available to him as the potential race winner.
White number 6 across the line and should see the white flag with just 40. Well, no, maybe not this time. I was going to say, I thought they were going to see it, but I think, did they or did they not, as Antonucci serves his second drive-through penalty. I was thinking this was going to be the white flag lap, Jeremy. I don't know what time you saw.
It was very close. I didn't see the time. When I glanced up, it was 1:44 to go, and they're turning 1:47s.
Yeah.
So if that was the case, it should have been. But I didn't see. I haven't seen any notification that the white flag has been shown.
So Antonucci down pit lane, Aga Khani out in front and doing what he needs to do. And I feel like the crew got on the radio with him and just said, turn your mirrors down and stop looking, as now Capitano wide down in the laces of the boot, doing all he can to try to close down on the 6. But we keep talking about championships, and now a lurch up the inside, looking to the inside of Stephen Aga Khani into the toe of the boot. So perhaps Capitano was just cooling tires for a lap, and now is going to come back and attack. Alec Udell right there with it.
Yeah, this is going to be exciting. It really is. Absolutely nose to tail, these 3 cars as they head up the hill towards turn 9.
Well, the question is, looking at the time, 20 seconds to go, is there another lap, or is this the checkered flag? We did not see a white flag last time by. You don't have to see a white flag. They don't have to throw it. It's going to be close at the line. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the white flag is displayed. I've never seen that close at the line. He's got 3.4 miles to go. And Dario Capitano may have one more go at Stephen Aga Khani. I've never seen it that close at the line.
I don't think I have either. That was super close, and that's great. That's exactly what we want to see as race fans. It's exactly what Stephen Aga Khani and the team there at Agara Motorsport and US Racetronics does not want to see. They wanted to see the checkered flag. They saw the white. He's got 3.5 miles remaining to hold on to what would be a very, very hard-won victory, or 3.4 miles for Dario Capitano to score his first overall victory in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America.
Well, and I think for Stephen Aga Khani and Jacob Benson, they need this win in the pro category. As Max Weering with a problem, he has pulled off safely. Great job to get that car out of the way and not affect others on the racetrack. They need this win, certainly, to help bolster them in the championship. But I think they really need it overall. And I think they need it overall for the spirits of the team, for these young drivers. And right now, Stephen Aga Khani, I'm sure they just said on the radio, turn your mirrors down. Don't worry about what's behind you. Just drive the best qualifying laps that you can give us, and don't worry about it. Do what you can do. Bring that car back around. And Capitano is not done with Aga Khani yet. 2 more turns to go through 10. He needs to keep it on the island. He does. He doesn't go past the curbs. Through the final corner, onto the front straightaway. It has been a long season up to this point for Jacob Benson, Stephen Aga Khani, but it all comes good at Watkins Glen as Stephen Aga Khani and Jacob Benson take their first win on the 2021 season.
NBCSN's coverage of Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America continues right after this. Welcome back to the beautiful Finger Lakes area of New York State and Watkins Glen International, where race number 2 of the weekend for Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America has come to a close. Now let's head to the celebrations in Victory Lane and hear from our winners.
Felt amazing. Obviously, I have to thank the team, the sponsors, everyone. You know, everyone's putting in their 100%. We're out here doing the exact same, along with Jacob and I. And I mean, it is what it is. You know, we put in the extra time, the effort, and as you can see here, it clearly shows. The past couple races, we haven't really had the best luck, really. So now that we've had some normal luck come our way, it really shows what kind of pace we have.
As the checkered flag fell today, it represented a breakthrough for some of the competitors. The results unofficial, of course, until after technical inspection. But for Stephen Agakani and Jacob Edson, they got back to the top step of the podium with a breakthrough win after dealing with setbacks at both COTA in round 2 and yesterday here in round 5. This one has to feel long overdue. And speaking of breakthroughs, Dario Capitano missed the first 2 rounds of the season, but has not been off of the podium since his arrival at VIR. And today, that podium position has him literally looking down on his competition as he stands on the top step, his first win in 2021 and his first win in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. Alec Udell had a very fast and very consistent Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo underneath him all weekend long. He leaves New York with not only 2 third-place finishes, but also more wisdom and experience to take to the next event. 4th overall and 3rd in Pro finds the new driver pairing of Jerome Moule and Stephen McAleer, and that will help McAleer in his championship quest, as points leader Richard Antonucci had to serve not 1 but 2 drive-through penalties today, and uncharacteristically, he is near the bottom of the first page of results. The top 3 in AM also represented on the first page, and the on-track action in that class was superb to watch. Young Gianno Torino took the victory, and 17-year-old Luke Berkeley joined him on the podium, but before season's end, third-place finisher, and I'm going to call him a more experienced Alan Metney, is going to give the youngsters a run for their money. Ashton Harrison leads off the second page of results, and she had some great wheel-to-wheel duels this afternoon in her Harrison Contracting with Wayne Taylor Racing Lamborghini. Another strong run and another top 5 finish. Page 2 is where you'll find the winners in LB Cup as well. Mark Kwame, Terry Olson, and Precision Performance Motorsports have created a force to be reckoned with in LB Cup, and those 2 drivers not only are putting on a show on track, but they're having some serious fun doing it, and it's fun for us to watch. Who's been missing in the results to this point? How about Pro-Am points leaders Brandon Godovic and Brian Ortiz? A mechanical issue put them 8 laps down at the checkered flag and last in the Pro-Am field.
I think I had the pace to win, but I had a little issue on the straight line on the electric, let me say. So I had to give the position back, and then the pressure went too high because, you know, I was on a draft of 2 cars. So I struggled a little bit, but I think with a couple of more laps I could have got the overall win.
From winners on track to the leaders in the championships in Pro and Pro-Am. With the win today, Stephen Agakani and Jacob Edson cut into the points lead that Richard Antonucci has enjoyed to date, and also into the lead that Stephen McAleer came into the weekend with over Agakani and Edson. And Alec Udell's strong performance in both races this weekend have added considerably to his points total. And while the top 4 remains the same, the margins have narrowed quite a bit. Udell only a single marker out of 3rd. In Pro-Am, the problem for Brandon Godovic and Brian Ortiz have narrowed the gap to 7 points back to Victor Gomez, but the driver really on the move is Dario Capitano. Remember that he missed the first 2 rounds of the championship, but now has a win and has never been off of the podium since his arrival. If that continues, the points are sure to narrow before season's end. Moving on now to AM and LB Cup championships. In AM, youth may be on the top of the charts. In fact, it's 1st and 3rd, but sitting right there in the middle in 2nd place is Alan Metney. Both Gianno Torino and Luke Berkeley are obviously quick, but with youth and exuberance can come trouble. Both have had race finishes outside the top 5, while age and treachery may well be the ticket to a championship. Alan Metney started the season with a 4th place finish after a problem at COTA, but has not been off of the podium since then. And he continues to race in other series, always staying sharp, always staying hungry. This is going to be fun to watch. And I'm not sure that there are any other 2 drivers having more fun this year in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America than LB Cup points leaders Mark Kwame and Terry Olson. And how could you not be having fun when you've won 4 races in a row? Matt Dickens, Bart Collins, Michael Manella, Scott Wellham, and the rest are trying their best to stop the momentum
But once the snowball starts rolling down the hill, sometimes things get run over in the process, like the competition. Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America returns to NBCSN for their next weekend event, rounds 7 and 8 from Road America during the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship weekend in the cottage country of Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Join us for all the live action on Track Pass from NBC Sports Gold, August 7th and 8th, and then for the NBCSN broadcast of some of the most intense single-make sports car racing anywhere. That's August 18th at 1 p.m. Well, what a great return to New York and Watkins Glen for all of the teams and competitors of Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. And perhaps an even better return for the fans as they flocked back to enjoy some great racing at this iconic venue. And it was certainly our pleasure to bring it to you here. After all, NBC Sports is your exclusive home for IMSA sports car racing. Congratulations to all of the class winners this weekend, and thanks again for spending the time with us today. For Jeremy Shaw and everyone in our broadcast team, I'm Brian Till, and we'll catch up next time in Wisconsin.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of the International Motorsports Association. We would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.